a lot of the times I wonder why I do this podcast. I really do. I'm not going to lie. Like I obviously, I'm sure Billy, you have your reasons why, I have mine. And we, sometimes it's like got a lot going on in life, a lot of things moving, a lot of pieces. We do this out of the goodness and the fun of our heart, right? At the end of the day, it's entertainment. I get to do it with one of my best friends in the planet. But like I don't know, I start to question things. And then there's situations in the world like what we're dealing with right now. I won't get deep into it. You know what's going on. We all know what's going on. I think both of us have talked a little bit about it here in the podcast. I've talked a little bit more about it in real life, and some of the things we'll both never really know, but we both have had our struggles with mental health and with dealing with heavy subjects, and days like yesterday really kind of hit hard. I don't know for you, obviously having a son and a son that I bring somewhere at times, and I'll laugh about it because I'm like, those are my favorite days in the world. I'm like, oh, good. I get to do my work. I get to be away. But when tragedy and crap like that happens, it just makes you really remember why the hell we do this. At the end of the day, I do this because even if it's one person that laughs at me as much as with me, or like I said, me and you get to chill and have some time together, it really does help. So hopefully this podcast and the things that we say on here, by the way, as you know, it's all in jest. It's all a bunch of dudes that are like-minded. It's like, I guess you could call it like locker room talk, a bunch of goofing around guy stuff, guys doing guy things. But I just hope that this brings a little bit of laughter, but do know that we do recognize the reality of the world. At least I know between the two of us we do, and that we hope that, hell, you can laugh at us, you can joke at us, tweet us, DM us, all that kind of stuff. But just hope no matter where you are, where you're listening, however you're listening, we thank you. But we also hope that you're just doing real well, and always know that you're a rock star.
Well, if you talk to the average teenager of today and you ask them what it is about pop culture that they like, and the first thing they'll say is the beat.
Get yourself addicted. Get yourself addicted.
Welcome into the Pop Culture Piledriver. Get addicted to the content. I am Jason Rossi. I can be followed across all social media platforms at Jason D Rossi. With me, you can also follow our show here at Pop Culture PD. We mostly reply in GIFs. You can also check out my tag team partner right here in the podcast sphere. He can be followed along most social media platforms at Billy D 2411, but he is found on Twitter at Billy Yee 2411. He is the biggest bully you've ever met, but also the sweetest, meltiest heart. His I won't say what melts in your hand, not in your mouth, but he is Billy D. What's going on, man?
Hello. Yeah, kind of a lot, but here we are discussing a movie that is now 5 years old.
Yes, it is. We got a meaty episode. It's like a good, not for Ramos where the meat's going to fall off the bone. I think the meat's on the bone. We're going to chew it up. We're going to spit it out. We're going to have some fun. We're going to talk some trash. We're going to enjoy ourselves along the way. So yes, we will be speaking about the movie Logan, released in 2017. We'll go through the rundown of all that fun stuff in just a few. If you would be such a delight, you can check out our podcast. If you're hearing this right now, you're finding us somewhere. If you're on iTunes, please do leave a 5-star review. I'll mention something about that in a moment. You can find us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Ghana. Shout out to our India listeners. We are the #1 podcast named Pop Culture Piledriver in India, Bill. Do you know that?
Yeah, I mean, are we the #1 Pop Culture Piledriver podcast everywhere? I'd hope.
Ooh, I would hope as well. I would hope as well. But I can confirm India. I can confirm that. You can subscribe to us over on YouTube, where you can see our shining faces and all the past episodes. You can check out the Dork Shared Gooniverse over on Facebook, where you get most of the content of said Dork Shared Universe, including Change My Mind, Mac and Goo, Dork, and some of the streamers. You can check out some of the merch for all of the Dork Shared Universe over at TeePublic, including That's a Chunky, which, by the way, happy belated birthday, Tim Robinson.
Yeah,
he just celebrated his birthday. Him and Sam, why can't I ever think of his name off the top of my head?
Robertson.
I never know. So no, they're not both Rob. I think it's Richardson, right? Is it? It doesn't matter. Either way, the two guys from the Detroiters and everything. There was a very nice social media post I saw. So shout out to Tim Robinson. Music Bill by Oh Yeah, who I saw. Who I just started following on, I think it was Instagram, who did say they have some new stuff being released.
Oh my God. It is one of my favorite songs already. I got the sneak peek. I got the whole thing to listen to, and I'm going to be doing the music video for it. And it might involve a wife of the DSG as well. So
that's really cool that Davey's wife did that. That's nice.
No, it's the one that owns a dance studio. Probably.
I was going to say, I'm joking.
But I think it's going to be, I think it's a legit hit. It's just whether or not we can get it out to the people.
Well, you'll get it out to the people. Again, you can check them out. It's Oh Yeah on Instagram. Please do support, be a friend, tell a friend. The podcast nonprofit, Frank Says Hi. We mentioned this before. It's been a hot minute. We'll get into why. But if you are seeing me right now, have this, I don't even know what you would call mop top. Almost looks decent right now, but just because I just showered. Yeah, it's coiffed. I have a lot of hair. I'll be shaving it off for the buzz with kids with cancer. So if you leave a 5-star review on iTunes, we'll go through June. We will be donating $10 on behalf of Frank Says Hi to the Buzz Off for Kids with Cancer. You can check out all the information there. You can just Google Buzz Off. And if you want to be a part of the event, June 5th, I'll be there. I'll be the MC of the event for, I want to say it's the 6th or 7th year. Time just kind of flies. And there was a bunch during the pandemic. You can check all that out. You can also check out franksayshi.com as we're going to be giving away some scholarships next week. I'll be going to your alma mater, Bill. Malden High, yes. And we also do a bunch of stuff with Dana Farber, so you can check out all of that. So I guess we can really just get into the thick of it. We'll get into all the situation of the podcast after we review the movie of the day here, but let me explain.
I'll just tease ahead real quick. We're going to answer for our sins in the Dork Shared Universe's top 50 comic book movies of all time. I don't really have any sins.
I got no sins. I got reality.
Well, you don't have any. Well, you'll give your reasons behind your list.
There you go. Better wording. So, sorry about that, a little ding ding. I will let you know right now. So whenever I do my rankings, Billy knows this, and I think we may have talked about this before, but we talk about it anytime you've seen a top 11. I want Billy to send me his list, but I never, and I repeat, never look at it, because I know, especially when it's just the two of us, if I look at his list and I have a song, like for instance, the last one I think was top 11 Nirvana. Mm-hmm. I felt strongly about certain songs, and he felt strongly, clearly about certain songs. If I had seen his list prior, I can easily just manipulate my list to put whatever I want, wherever I want, in a sense, mm-hmm. right? So I always try to do it that way. That's just been something, just so it's more organic. And sometimes, let's be honest, we'll talk about it and we'll put songs in places. So to get to the point, Keith asked us, it had to be almost 3 months ago now, to create a top 50 comic book movie list. And I'll answer a lot of the questions, probably the more burning ones later, but the one that seems to be catching the most heat is, how did Rossi rank Logan at 37? I could have not ranked it. I probably shouldn't have ranked it, but here's why. I've never seen the film in its entirety, so I didn't feel I could put it in a position where it would be high enough. But clearly this movie had an impact. So I've seen the last scene several times because it was all over YouTube and stuff like that. It was almost as famous for a little while as, remember the Deadpool, not Deadpool, from, I think it was an X-Men movie, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know what movie that was, but I'm not.
It's Ryan Reynolds playing Deadpool, but it's like a shitty version of the character.
Yeah, I think it was a Wolverine. I think it was in the movie Wolverine. I want to say.
Yeah, it was a Wolverine movie.
A delete or the post-credit or end of the movie. Either way. Because I lived with our buddy Kevin for a while, who's a huge X-Men movie fan. I'm an X-Men animated series. Dig it. And X-Men movies, not for me. Never really got into them. So this movie came out, and I remember all of our buddies. We have a whole G-chat of friends. Everyone's like, oh, I remember our buddy Barrett. I think it was Jimmy. Jimmy. I don't say full names here. But a bunch of us were they were like, this is the best movie. So I remember watching the beginning at one point, and I've seen the ending enough. And I know the impact of the movie is pretty big. So I said to myself, all right, I know enough about this, so I'm going to throw it on my list, but I couldn't put it ahead. I couldn't sit here and say Howard the Duck is a better movie than Logan, right? I could have, but I didn't. So that's where it ranked in my 37. I never had seen the movie until it's in its entirety till about 48 hours ago. I tried last week. I'm coming off of COVID, by the way, and we'll get into all that as well. But that's where 37 came from. Never saw the movie in its entirety, but seen enough to say, okay, this movie deserves to be on the list, but I'm not going to be foolish enough to rank it high. And I actually didn't know this movie was so well loved. I really never knew that.
I mean, obviously we can just start diving in, but I actually didn't see this when it came out. I probably saw it like 2 years later. But what this movie did, which I think all of my favorite Marvel movies kind of do, except for the big team up ones like Infinity and Endgame, is they kind of pick another movie to base it off of or genre, and then they do the, romantic comedy version of a Marvel movie. This is a Western. This is a flat out Western story through and through, and they nail it from top to bottom, and it's violence, it's gritty, and at certain points during this movie, I'm emotional enough, like I know what happens, and I'm still like, hell yeah, kick ass. Like, so for me, I toyed with it being my 2. This was my 3. I love Into the Spider-Verse and Guardians because they're more fun movies, but from a serious standpoint, like an actual serious comic book movie, I think this is probably the best one that's ever been done.
Good take. Interesting way to look at it. We'll get into it. So in IMDb, Logan is set, it says, in a future where mutants are nearly extinct, an elderly and wary Logan, I'll talk about my thoughts on why the name was Logan thing in a minute. You're going to laugh, and so will everybody else, and it'll probably be a horrible take. Leads a quiet life, but when Laura, a mutant child pursued by scientists, comes to him for help, he must get her to safety. The movie was released, Bill, on February 17th, 2017. And here we go, our favorite part of a movie review, our questionnaire for Billy. Bill, on February 17th, 2017, what was the average gas price in the wild country of America?
$2.25?
Oh, good guess. $2.35.
That's close to that.
That's I think you get that.
It's fucking double now.
I will tell you, I probably have heard this song, but I could never tell you the song by its title. Just like on Hurdle sometimes. What was the number 1 record in the United States? Top 100 Billboard.
17.
I'll give you a category. It's hip hop.
Hip hop.
Well, yeah, like Dirty Lana hip hop.
Dirty Lana hip hop. I have no idea. Something by Migos, probably.
It was Migos. That was a good clue.
Oh, wait. Is it Bad and Bougie?
Bad and Bougie featuring Little Uzi Vert.
Yeah.
One of the worst hip hop names ever.
In that song, I know every one. Like, I don't know the lyrics. I just know all of the the callback stuff to it. It's great.
So I would know. Would I know this song?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Bad Bougie.
I'm sure I didn't even bother listening to it this morning when I put that together. One thing I will say, when Wiggy first came over to EEI, he was doing a lot of stuff with Dale and Keith at the time. And we had a blast having him, but he always used to talk about how Little Uzi Vert, did I say that right? Am I saying the way? Yeah. I feel like it should be Little Oot Verzi, but whatever. He was always saying he's like the next big hip hop thing. And he would always talk about, he's like, yo, because I would play music. And he'd be like, can we get a little bit of that Little Uzi Vert? I'm like, no, I just play wrestling tunes for the most part. All right. The number 1 alternative rock song in the country, Bill.
Jesus Christ. Something by Imagine Dragons.
Good guess. It was Green Day, Still Breathing. Not a very famous one. Tough time in that genre at that time of year. What was the number 1 movie in release? And it's before Logan. Logan became the number 1. There's 2 guesses here, actually, oddly enough.
2 guesses, 2017. I have no clue. I'm not good with the movies.
I think here's what I'll say. One of them was on, I believe, I can look again, keep sent it, the top 50 comic book movies.
Oh. Doctor Strange?
Nope, not. It was more in the animated genre. I don't remember if it actually made the list.
Oh, Into the Spider-Verse.
No, good guess. Good guess. It was Lego Batman.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it did. It made somebody's list. I don't know if it made the...
I'll look at the top. I have it. We'll get to that. Also, you could have also said... why can't I think of the name of the movie all of a sudden? Don't do this to me. What was the Key and Peele...
Get Out.
Get Out. So there's controversy over what the exact release date, because I think this might have been on a Wednesday and it's in between weeks. But anyways, either one of those 2 movies could have
Time for movies.
Yeah. Bill, who was the WWE champion at the time?
2017.
So we're leading into WrestleMania 33.
33. Randy Orton?
Great guess. He won the title at 33.
Oh,
He
Bray Wyatt.
defeated Bray Wyatt. That's correct.
Yeah.
What a weird world that was then. Who was the Universal Champion?
Roman Reigns?
No, always a good guess at this point. It was
Brock Lesnar.
Kevin
Oh, did he drop it to what's his name?
Goldberg a few days
Yeah.
later. That was still a head shaker there. And that's all we got from for the question. So you did pretty good there. Ratings in this one, we don't have no Siskel and Ebert because they're dead. Scott Collier of the ING gave Logan a score of 9.7 out of 10. He said, called it an emotional, heavy picture, but it's also an uplifting one that reminds us that it's okay to fight for something more, something better. Brian Tewitt of USA Today said, easily one of the best Wolverine outings. Logan is the Dark Knight of the mutant-filled X franchise. Gripping film that transcends comic book genre and says something important. Mara Reinstead of USA Weekly gave the movie a 2.5 out of 4 and specified in a lukewarm review that the film loses its way during the 20-minute too long journey. For all of the breathless talk about how Logan transcends superhero genre, clearly she's talking about the last review, there's nothing groundbreaking about the road trip movie in which adults try to elude bad guys to protect the super special child. Talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Google users, Bill, give it 84% like it. It gets an 8.1 out of 10 on IMDb and 94% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 77 on Metacritic. It had a budget of somewhere, I don't know why it's a window, but somewhere between 97 and 127 million, and it made over $619 million in the box office. So, Bill, our curtain jerker, did you like it?
Love it.
Yeah, I didn't love it, but I really like it. Like, I think it's a good movie. And clearly there's probably a difficulty because I'll just be honest. So since the last time we were supposed to do this at least a week ago, I came down with COVID. We'll talk a little bit further about that. But unfortunately, me and the family got hit. So I watched this with the intention of doing a podcast with you and fell asleep several times during it. Not because I wasn't entertained, but just if anybody here has ever had any of the effects or any flu-like things, like sometimes
you're feeling it.
You're just zonked. So I watched it a week ago, and then I also watched it again last night. I really do like it. I think it's hard to judge on a scale because it's also being like pushed at me in a weird way. Like, this is the best movie. This movie's outstanding. It's really good. It's a really good movie. I will say that. The transcending thing, I think you talked about earlier, it has like a Western. I actually kind of agreed with that woman before I wrote it. I couldn't put it into my own words in a sense, but like it is kind of like a road trip, like a hero road trip movie in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it's a classic formula. I mean, it's as old as time, and they just kind of used, Wolverine for it. And I think that it's executed really well. And the main thing to me that sells the movie is the girl, Lara. Is fucking incredible. Yes. Her facials until she starts talking, and then when she talks in the the rapid Spanish at him, it's so good, and you kind of feel the connection there. And the only thing I wish they did a little bit more was sell Xavier being like, dude, and they did it subtly, and I guess you kind of have to do that, but like, no, this is your daughter. Like, I know you didn't like make her you didn't technically create her, you didn't have sex with somebody, they made her in a lab, but they made her from you. Like, this is your kid. That was something that I didn't know going into. So let me preference this, and I'll be honest. I didn't know he was Logan. I thought the girl was Logan going into this movie because I didn't know that Wolverine had names, and talked to a friend of ours, Kevin, who's like a big, he has 3 different names. That was like his dog tag. And obviously you find a little bit out this, but when he's like, oh, Logan, everyone just calling him Logan out of nowhere. I'm like, everything I've seen before this, people call him Wolverine. I always thought Logan was the girl's name. So again, have at it. But so that threw me off. Because like he's called Logan early on in the film. It's like the first scene when he's driving people, like, what is happening? Also, this movie also has a little bit of like a Purge vibe to it because it's super dark and like they're super wealthy. He's a driver, right? Like of wealthy people most people are using somewhat wealth. And like I just like the part when like the party guys in the beginning were like, USA, you. I don't know why. It reminded me of the Purge. If you ever see any of the Purge movies, it's usually like these kind of like American pride because America at the time is allowing people to do whatever they want for 24 hours. Anyways, but I will say to your point, like the girl was fantastic. So we can get into casting with it. I thought the cast is actually maybe the highlight of the movie. Like
everybody. There's not like an overwhelming amount of cast too, which is super easy. Like also like this movie, like I know we'll get to it and like the plot points of this, like this is the final movie of Wolverine because he's dead. But also like we also get Patrick Stewart as I can't think all of a sudden I can't think of all the
Professor
X-Men.
X.
Thank you. Like a lot of death in this movie. Like major.
That's why it's good.
Yeah, it's
Kill
big.
your
Like
characters. Kill your
big
characters.
stakes. Big stakes. And that. Sorry, just one sidebar. I saw a Instagram thing. So Millie Bobby Brown, you like Stranger Things, right?
Love it.
So we got Stranger Things will be debuting the week that we're recording this. I think it's like 4 episodes and they're doing like 2 more. And she said in an interview that they have too much cast and people need to die.
Yeah.
But here's what I would say. It's like, well, it's the final season. So if people die, like, yes, people can die. But I'm just saying like, it's kind of a weird time to bring that up.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a fan. I was learning this early on in my English days. Kill your characters. You need stakes. You need things to make. You need meaningful things. Like in Logan, when they kill that fucking awesome family, it's like,
oh my God.
I forgot. I was like, it's been a while since I've seen it. I was like, wait a second. They fucking kill all of them. Holy shit, they're going to kill all of these people.
It is dark. There's the one thing if you like dark films, this is like, especially like superheroes, like you didn't see this. Like I love Deadpool. Deadpool is in, I believe, like my top. It was like one of my top movies, but I liked it because it had a dark edge, but it was very light as well. This movie, there is very little light. There's very little
heavy cream.
Yeah, honestly, dude, we're
Whole
making
milk.
a thick shake. We are making a thick shake with this one, and but the cast, just to go back to it, is very well put together. I give, like, I'm never one that's like I'm not like an artsy person when it comes to all movies. Like, oh well, the scenery in this film and that, but the way this cast, like every character is so well positioned, and every actor that plays that character, I think is perfect. Like you even mentioned, the girl who plays Lara is freaking. I think it's like Daphne Keane. She hasn't really done much. She's only 17 now, so I think she was only 12 years older in this film. Really strong, and like her anger, like that angry face, like as a 12-year-old actress, amazing.
Yeah, I also just love too when she's sitting at the breakfast table eating cereal, and you're like, all right, she's gonna do something cool, and the first time you see it, like, I don't know what it's gonna be, but it's gonna be cool. Because I didn't like, I'm like you. I had a friend who loved the X-Men comics, but I was more the animated, so I didn't know anything about X-23, and I didn't know what she could do. And even like the little thing about giving her the claw from her feet, because that's what lions do. That's a nice little take right there too. Everything about the way they approached each character too was great. It was so good.
It was even like some of the other people. Pierce, you have what's the guy? Rice, Dr. Rice. Like they were just, I was just really, that's the one thing I can say, like, not that we're taking it back to like the full degree, but I just thought they did such a good job with the cast itself. Speaking of Spellbill, what did you think of the acting and writing in the film?
I thought it was pretty tremendous. Like I said, I would have liked a little more connection to Logan and Lara, but I mean, it made me emotional as hell. But I thought you could have guilted Wolverine even a little bit more, even though he's, dealing with losing basically every one of his friends and finding out that he has a daughter. The acting, Hugh Jackman, how can you not love him? He's great in everything. Professor Xavier crushed it. The only thing, the main bad guy with the hand, he was fine. He was good. Did his job.
Yeah, I think that's what. So here's the two things. Part of me is like, this is the 10th X-Men movie, by the way, in that franchise. So that's a lot of history to like kind of play off of. And I didn't understand any callbacks or certain things. So I'll be honest, like while this movie does kind of stand out, but there were scenes and conversations that were like you could tell were like references to the past. And not seeing those films, it's kind of like, okay, I think people are trying to sell this on like it stands on its own. It does in a lot of ways, but if you know the history, it's easier.
You need to know X-Men, yes. It's
I
not
did
a 100% standalone movie unless you can take it as like a Western and you're just assuming all of his friends are dead. They don't necessarily... With a couple strokes of the pen, you could have made this movie stand alone 100%.
Yeah, I think like what you're saying, like all like him being like one of the rare mutants still alive, and like how he has to protect Charles, like those things, like I could understand that, but like I didn't feel the heaviness of like the fact that all this team that you've watched in all these Prime movies are all dead, and there's a guy trying to wipe them all out.
Yeah, if you had a couple of flashbacks and then one news scene talking about maybe escaped mutants or something, or the last mutant we know of that's alive, whatever. You
Yeah,
could have
I
made it
can.
stand on its own. But other than that, I loved everything about the writing. I also loved the editing skills of the lady who gave the video on the phone to Logan, because she was
Yes.
like next level. There was like transitions, and that was the only other
She's a
thing where I
sharp
was
editor,
like,
though. She's a sharp editor.
that's the only thing I was like, you could have just had a straight to camera video and
Yeah.
then pan over to X-23 and then cut to her head of like that stuff going on. And then that would have been perfect. But even still, it's like 2040 in the movie.
Yeah.
You probably can put a camera anywhere and you could edit on your phone. Like I would be able to edit now,
That would be. I can't wait. We'll all be on the same playing field.
Hmm?
You'll be even further ahead. You'll be like that Tom Brady golf video. That was fake, right?
100%.
Okay, I'm just making sure. Like, because it's just
No.
very
Okay.
cool. But
Hmm?
nothing that he does on social media seems real. If you haven't seen it, go check out Tom Brady. That doesn't matter.
At this point, I think he might be CGI. So.
Honestly, Bill, I wouldn't. That's maybe one of the best things you've ever said. What did you think, Bill, of the music in this movie?
So I love that they ended the movie with the Johnny Cash song. And then for a movie that doesn't utilize real songs, I always kind of judge it by there's like a level like where it's either a character, like it is in Star Wars, where like they have like basically entrance themes and anything John Williams does, even like Home Alone, that theme's kind of it. But for movies like this, I look at it as refereeing. If I didn't really notice it, did a great job. So it was they didn't play real music until basically the end. So it was good.
Good way to put it, because I kind of said the score, like during the fight scenes, they did intense scores. And I believe this film also, maybe I'm wrong, this might have been Wolverine. There's a famous clip and like behind the scenes of Hugh Jackman, which will be my act out. So it kind of
Probably.
and like you watch him doing it, and that was a great verbal communication right there. But like, there's just a scene of him like in front of a microphone in a studio, like doing the action scene. I don't know if it was from Logan or if it was from Wolverine. I want to say Logan.
Yeah,
I want to say Logan
when he's running up the hill.
Yeah, it's just because of the timing, like of like when would that be filmed? Like, so 2016 makes sense. But it's an incredible scene, and just watching this man work, and then watching that video with no sound, and then watching this movie with that intense score, like this is like horror, like it's like the perfect horror movie meets action movie score. Like that's how I would fit it, because it's like very intense in moments. The movie's like video game-esque, blood, guts. This is probably the most brutal I've seen for like a anti-villain superhero movie. Like,
yeah, some of the Deadpool kills are like fun.
Yeah, but that's why I was like, Deadpool is the light cream, if you will, the skim milk of this, because it's so, even the grotesque scenes
are a spoonful of sugar with your medicine instead of this. Just
this is like not that. This is dark, but I thought that was it. Other than that, like you said, good call on the Johnny Cash, not a very famous Johnny Cash song either to end the movie, but music didn't really stand out, which I guess isn't in any way a bad thing, but it just didn't really it wasn't a big part to me. You want to take a stab at anything in acting and out, Bill, in this film?
Yeah, there was one quote that I really liked. It's when I didn't write it down, but it's when he's you know the drill, get the fuck out of here. Like that scene, you know exactly what's gonna happen. Like the owner of the farm takes him out there, pulls out the gun, like, hopefully we won't have to use this. And you're like, I can't wait for Logan to fuck these dudes up.
Oh, he's gonna use it.
But he didn't. It was fucking cool the way he was like, because he came out and was like, you know the drill, turn around, start walking. He's like, no. You know the drill. Get the fuck out of here.
That was a great scene. For me, it just, again, that action. He's so, and the other thing is like, because I don't know how old he's technically in this film, because I don't know if mutants, again, don't know enough about X-Men. I don't know if they age the same way as humans, but he's got to be in his like late 50s, I'm assuming, in this film. And that, I think, added to his fight scenes and added to a lot. I think that's a big part of the movie in general, that he's like the old gunslinger, as you kind of said, like he is literally like on his dying bed, or like if you want to relate it to like in sports, it's like a guy's final year. He just doesn't give two craps. He's putting it all on the line, trying to get that last title.
Kirk Gibson,
and he is honestly just limping along, chugging along, hitting that homer. But that was one I thought that was great. And then Bill, what would you say the legacy of the film, the most memorable thing from Logan?
It's Wolverine. It's his performance. I mean, he is unreal. Although it could be X-23 with, her just debut. It's so badass. I would say Hugh Jackman's like swan song as Wolverine.
That's where I put the death of Wolverine. That's what the movie's known for. Like it, again, an idiot or a bystander didn't know that he was Logan. Thought Logan was the girl. That clearly didn't resonate with me, even though I've seen the movie, parts of it in the past. But I think just that final scene, the final death on that tree, like in that whatever branch that he's in, like it is pretty epic in knowing that he succeeded. I think there's something so satisfying about the end of that. Like you were referring to earlier, saying like, hell yeah, like he got the job done.
I know that people don't normally like the mirror villains, and necessarily it wasn't even like he was the villain. The villain was the company doing it to the kids, and this was just like, it could have been anything. It just happened to be him, and that's obviously done purposeful because the biggest drawback to Wolverine is Wolverine. He's like a dickhead. Like he's killing himself, like symbolically by killing. Like it's not like the deepest movie. I've actually never seen the movie Shane, so I don't know. Like I'm sure
everyone talks about that movie with this. I don't know. Never seen.
Well, they're watching it in here, and she gives the speech at the end. But I'm assuming it's a similar type of gunslinger storyline, and that's exactly why they did this. But either way, you don't need to see the movie to know when he's fighting himself. It's because like he's been the cause of a lot of his problems, and it's poetic that he gets to use the bullet on that guy, and then he winds up dying, saving her. Like that self-sacrifice at the end, it's awesome. The scene where they're saying goodbye, and she calls him, Dad, and he's literally like, this is what it's like to feel good, and then a moment. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that was, again, a very emotional scene at the end. Like you said, the whole father acknowledgement, him telling her not to become a weapon. Like, there's just
teary-eyed over it.
It's again, for me, it wasn't as much because I don't have any history, but even you don't need it too much. But it was still, a very, very well done final scene. And I still think that's what what the legacy is. And then the then, now, forever, Bill, will this movie stand the test of time? Yeah,
because it's a timeless, it's not. I really kind of wish they did write a little bit in to make it so everybody can see it, so you don't even need to know who Wolverine is. You kind of, maybe you don't, but yeah, I think you can watch this in perpetuity. Like for me, it's never going to get old, and its legacy now is incredible. So you may need a little bit of a backstory, but that's it. It's going to last forever.
Yeah, I said sure. Like I'm not quite sure. I think more yes than no. Again, I think it being the 10th of an X-Men franchise, that's always a little hard, but that's just my opinion on it. I'd say it probably has a better chance because I feel like the allure of this movie is rather big. I think it has like such love from, the fandom. And again, like I could see myself watching this movie again before I watch probably any of the other 9 of the X-Men franchise.
Yeah, Days of Future Past I really like, but this is my 3rd favorite comic book movie, so this is by far my favorite X-Men.
Good Lord, that was ranked high. Pull apart, Bill. Any final thoughts on Logan?
It's just really beautifully done. I mean, it's the classic story, and they've said this on Mac and Goo before. You just take something we like and tweak it, and this is basically just a classic story with people that I knew, 2 of them at least pretty well and loved, and they just, it was fun to watch again because I hadn't seen it in so long, and I think I'm going to watch this more often because it's just such a classic dickhead character that you still love, that in the end makes the right choice. Even like into like the last act, the final scene, he's not all about it. Like usually sometimes they make the turn in the middle of the 3rd act. This is like, okay, the final scene of the last act. He's like, I'll take this green shit and then I'm going to go kill everybody because I love this girl.
Which is pretty kick-ass, too, that part of it, when he's just like, screw it. The only thing I will say, and it was kind of one of the reviews, it did have a little bit of, like, lingering there towards the final scenes, like, to get to that final chase, I guess you could call it. I thought that the movie, just a little bit, again, now movies, it's so hard to scale because so many movies now are, like, 2+ hours, and I think this movie was just over 2 hours. I want to say, like,
it was pretty breezy. The only thing I'll say is, they have that scene where he's finally like, I'll take you. And like, you can cut right to him happening upon the thing, but it's a 2-day drive. So you have to do a little something to make the movie be like kind of realistic. And they did the thing where she's like driving up there herself, which
Yeah,
worked.
that might have been it. I couldn't pinpoint.
But you had to
it.
do something.
I guess. I just, there was one point when I said I think they could have trimmed probably 15 minutes out. Again, still a good movie overall. So, Bill, what would you give Logan out of 11?
I'd give it an 11. I ranked it 3 with my other.
Jesus
It's my third favorite. Like, it's pretty. All of the movies I have in the top probably 6 of my rankings are perfect movies. Infinity War, Endgame, Ragnarok, Spider-Verse, and Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, I'll give this one an 8 out of 11, I would say. For me.
Like a 70.
Oh, yeah. Like, I would, well, maybe a little higher than 70.
Yeah.
Just a hair. But yeah, so I guess that would give us the cumulative score, Bill, of a 9 out of 11. That's your PCP review of the movie Logan, which I finally saw. Still kind of in bits and pieces over now 3 viewings, I guess you could call it overall. Doesn't matter what the hell we got to talk about, Bill. A week ago, plus the Dork Shared Gooniverse, the Dork podcast released the top 25 out of the top 50 comic book movies podcast live at Idle Hands. Shout out to Idle Hands. Shout out to you were there live, Bill.
I was.
So obviously big shout out to those guys. They put on a hell of a show. Great.
8 out of 10 DS years.
8 out of the 10.
Mm-hmm.
This is 10 of us.
Yeah.
Why do I feel like there's only 8? Why do I always feel? I just put that number there. I don't know, but clearly there's 10. Now that I think about it, because I always I don't forget, but I think I think of Shime and Joe like of already being in that though in my whatever. So the point being, yeah. So out of the 10, so 8 out of 10. So who else was not there aside from me?
Wesley.
Okay, so me and Wes not there. So I'll start by saying this. Well done show. Looked good. I know it was on. I saw some of obviously the clips, but I think, I don't know. Did Goo set up a camera? Is that Goo?
Yep.
Goo production? Great job on Goo's end for all the production value. I will say that I'm very glad now I wasn't there because I probably would have gotten everybody sick. So I did come down with COVID middle of
your list might have got a few people sick, but.
Oh, well, the list is the reason the podcast was a reason to listen to. I want to first off, you're welcome.
Honestly, though, you do. I always say you need like the person on the Family Feud who will say the dumb answer that's the lowest one.
Okay, first of all, a little more offensive.
No, but I'm not saying you
have my back, Bill. Always have my back, you coward, you Benedict Billy. So what I will say about it is, I don't care about the dumb answers.
Have your back now.
No, now you do, Bill. There, you're like feeding them answers. I could hear you. I don't feel all right. Anyways.
Oh no, I did not. You can ask everybody there.
Oh, I'm not asking.
Fryer was the only one who yelled. I sat in silence and gave some thumbs up and smiles.
I will say this: the podcast was a weird listen because they're yelling out. Like I felt like Fryer and them talked a couple times. Just bring them up to the mic. So first thing I will say, we'll get into all this. Hey guys, 2 things. 1, simple question. Hey. Notice you rank this here. You didn't even have to context it. Kiefer, Davey, whoever, I think it was Kiefer put it together. Mm-hmm. Could have just quickly said, like, hey, how come you rank this here? Just curious. Could have at least had some context. Just saying.
You go through 10 lists and rank 500.
I know, but once you see one that stands out to you, like if I was to do this list and somebody, like when we did the baseball thing last year, when somebody.
Oh, I think he did it for the same reason I would have done it, to have something to talk about.
Absolutely. And I'm overall cool. Here's another thing I'll say. Even in this case, invite me. You clearly could have used me on that podcast. Now, thank God I wasn't available to be there because, again, I thought I was sick. My son was legit sick that day. Went down for like 8 naps. It was the most bizarre day we've had in a long time. It was the Celtics-Bucks game 7, too. Mm-hmm. I wasn't feeling good. Clearly, COVID hit. So, in this circumstance, but hey, clearly this guy's going to be a topic here. Holla at your boy. Be like, hey, we probably could use you here. Because that, I think, would have made it more entertaining. Just throwing it out there.
I mean, again, I
will be on your first Patreon episode. I will be the reason people will give Dork money. Spike bucks to Dork, please. But this will give them something to entertain on. I'd be more than happy to do that. I think it would be really funny. That's one thing that just jumped out. My name was mentioned 37 times.
Oh, the number of times Logan and the amount of movies Davey forgot.
So I don't even care to criticize Davey on that.
Oh, no. Well, then let me just say my Davey thing real quick.
Well, yeah.
The fact that he is picking on us, and you get picked on for everything.
Oh, yeah.
And when the thing of Logan came up, he was like, all right, wait for it. And then they said your thing. And he legitimately forgot maybe 15 movies. Legitimately. It was between 10 and 15. I think he had the worst list because he left great movies off. You're gonna your list and whatever that means to everyone, or you specifically, but everyone knows what I mean. But he forgot so many movies and then talked about them. And then the worst part was he blamed Fryer for why he didn't double check his list. That man is a teacher, and every teacher I've ever met in my life, if I handed in an assignment and I was like, ooh, I forgot to change some stuff, they were like, well, you should have read it over. Like, the fact that he didn't like cross-check it with another list or whatever is insane.
Which I'm fine. I agree with you. Here's the other thing I'm just going to say. This is legitimate entertainment style advice. I don't care as us as people. We're all good people, parents, all that. We had a lot of crap going on. But Davey, it's okay to be a part of the joke. It's okay to be the person that is the bottom of the joke. I literally live there. That is my life.
Well, that's why I'm actually like going in a little bit on this, because everybody just picks on you, and this was something to pick on.
But like, I will just say, like, so everyone's like, oh, Logan 37. Oh my God, Logan 37 is the most. I didn't see the freaking film. I could have easily left it off, just like I left off Days of Future Past.
Well, that was kind of their argument that you should have just left it off. But
that's fine. But I told you, I've seen enough of it, and I know enough of it that I'm like, okay, like I've watched visually enough of it, so I'm like, easily could have been left off. But at the same time, that's how I ranked it. I don't look at lists, and I will say this. We'll jump around because I have a couple things. First thing is, and this is legit my biggest gripe: enough of sharing your list before the list is complete. I think that is one of the dumbest. So to not defend Dave because he's still dumb, and to blame somebody else for anything, like I'm not blaming anybody for my crap. Like I'll give you my top 11 in a minute. We'll go over a few things, but like stop sharing your list. Be like, oh, I'm trying to be transparent. So you don't do that, because then you're going to be able to let other people see your list and then make a judgment call right then.
I agree with that 100%. And what I do is I make my list, and then I'll go and look at a complete list of comic book movies. So what I did was I took Fryer's list because, let's face it, I wasn't going to have any of the same takes of Fryer, because a lot of the comic book movie lists I looked up didn't have like ones that I was even thinking of. So I got Fryer's to kind of like look through to make sure that I had all the movies that I wanted. And he actually didn't have Batman Begins on there, which I would have had in like my top 10.
I was in my top 10. So here's the thing. So when people started sharing, I muted the chat because I'm like, I don't want to see it. And I don't want to see people arguing over other people's lists because I just assume that's going to happen. Went back and looked. That's exactly what happened.
I agree, because you want a pure list from all 10
send them to Keith. Or like so when Keith did ask me to, like, I told him I would have done the math for this. This is why I actually like doing it, because I'd like it so that people like, if like Wes said, hey, I'm going to I would have like delete it. Because here's my reasoning behind it is you can skew other people's lists, and clearly that happened. Yeah. Like Davey had like massive, I think like Ant-Man or something wasn't on Davey's list. Or it's like, what? Clearly you had it on your list, or you would have had it on your list if you just went on your own merits or did what you did. You can cross 50 is a lot. So when we did the horror movie one, like I said to people, send it to me and don't share it. Just don't share it, because that will make it so much easier. And then if anything, it makes the final product more fun, because you're like, oh, I forgot about this and I forgot about that, instead of it being like Davey or others that said, I forgot, but it was because of somebody else. So that was my gripe on that side. Overall, let me just, so we can get into this too, like what was we'll go with top 11, because, it's Pop Culture Piledriver, baby. So the top 11 of the Dork Shared Gooniverse, 11 was the Batman.
Which, by the way, I would have ranked much lower now, because that 100%, the chat influenced me, because I wasn't super high on it. I would have had it in my top like 20 for sure, but I probably would have had it like 15 or 16. So
it wasn't on my list because I haven't seen the film. And I heard Keith like, oh yeah, just sit down and watch it. I'll be honest, like that's like me saying, hey guys, like everybody sit down and watch this week's Monday Night Raw.
Well, you like Batman, no?
I do, but I'm just letting you know, my week to week, like I'm
a
2 hour
fair enough too.
Keith
likes wrestling, and you might tell him to watch Monday Night Raw, and, like, no.
And he might be like, dude, that's a lot. That's a slog. That's all. Like the only way I can, again, live your life. I haven't seen it yet. I do want to see it. I almost watched it 3 times during the COVID situation, but I was like, fucking slog, dude. So I watch a bunch of crappy 90-minute movies like Senior Year on Netflix. Funny, not good. That was number 11.
Let's go together, but okay.
Oh, I'm just saying it's I watch quick movies if I'm gonna
Gotcha.
at the end of the day. The Suicide Squad, the 2021 was in number 10. Deadpool at 9. Thor Ragnarok at 8. Winter Soldier at 7. Logan at 6. So people rank that son of a bitch real high for it to get that. I screwed
I think
that.
everybody had it in their top 5 except you and Wes.
Okay. Spider-Verse was 5. 4 was Endgame. 3 was The Dark Knight. 2 was Guardians of the Galaxy. And 1 was Infinity War. So now for transparency, my personal top 11, Bill, was The Avengers at 11. Avengers Endgame at 10. Let me say this about that movie. Just because I have gripes with it doesn't mean I don't think it should be ranked high. Like, I thought that was such a dumb thing that Keith said. He's like, Rossi destroyed the movie, but he ranks at 10. Yeah, because I still think it's an overall good movie. I was personally disappointed. Mac.
Well, that's how I feel about kind of like Batman. I didn't like, everybody's like, you didn't get Batman. It's like, no, I got it. 100%. I was like, I just don't think it was a good way to do Batman.
How about this? What do you mean you didn't get? Like, is this movie I have to like sit down and have a thesaurus with me? I don't get it.
No. People were telling me he doesn't know how to be Batman, and I was like, that was fairly evident the whole time.
Well, spoilers. No, I'm kidding. But I was listening to Mac explain his reason for The Dark Knight. I think he had in the teens, right? And he talked a lot about continuity. And he said that like the Joker scene in the beginning, how like convenient it was for the bus, and he didn't like the scene with the 2 boats, and he didn't think there was anything intense. I still think that's one of the most intense scenes I've ever seen in the theater. I don't know. Yeah,
Mac's kind of a non-fun haver at times, but
that's fine. But let me just. Yeah. So he still likes the movie, and he said maybe in retrospect he would rank it higher. So my Endgame gripe is almost all those same things. There's nuance. The Russo brothers, all the people that created this movie, was that 21st movie in the franchise at the time? Endgame 22.
22, yeah, one of those.
Okay, so they knew at some point that where they were going with it, and they're writing all these things and so much callbacks and all that. And I don't care what anybody says. This is they did such lazy crap in this film. Like the goddamn rat, I'm going to my grave on that one. That is one of the laziest, that's how Ant-Man got out of the quantum realm. Oh, okay. A freaking rat just stumbles upon, no callbacks, no like nuance to something in the past. Just those little things like that aggravated me. Also, they killed Thanos, 9 minutes into the film or something, like maybe 15 minutes into the film.
Which I think was, to me, one of the better parts, because you're like,
no, but then they still go back in history and bring back a previous Thanos. Like, to me.
But that's the whole point of it. It's like a Back to the Future, that they took a Back to the Future movie and put it in Marvel.
I still think that's just.
I don't think that's done because it's a storytelling device. You've done so many different things. He already won with the snap. So it's like, how do we kill him? All right, the stones are gone. I kill him. And now you're left with, how do these characters now
figure this out? Which, fine. Again, I'm telling you,
it creates an impossible problem to solve.
I know, but and then this is the same thing that happened in the movie It, Chapter 2. It was like the same parallels in movies. We're just watching them go on these journeys to get like the prize. Again, just
what movies are.
I know, but this specific movie, especially coming off of Avengers, Infinity War, especially Infinity War, because then at the end they did the toy dump scene, which I still think is also these lazy like ways to kind of throw things together. The movie is still very good overall. I get it. So that's why it ranks 10. I'm not ranking it lower because I still know the impact it had. So
we got a long way to go.
Yeah, Civil War I had after that. Batman Begins, Into Spider-Verse, Batman, 1989. Keith said, I've never heard Rossi talk about that movie. The fudge does that have to do with me ranking the movie where I do? Just because I don't talk about a movie?
No, he was comparing it to Goo because Goo only talks about that movie.
That's fine, but I'm not Goo. And my reason for that being there, Batman changed the game. This movie changed everything for the future of like.
I have no problem. I don't even think he had a problem with it. I think at that point it was just pile on Rossi.
Yeah, but I'm just responding.
Yeah, no, 100%. So
that's my reason for it. Like that movie was a huge impact. And Tim Burton, who I'm a huge Tim Burton fan, Nightmare Before Christmas, one of my all-time favorites. Like he wouldn't get those movies if it wasn't for like Batman. I know this maybe have nothing to do with a comic book movie, but
Batman Returns though I think was the big problem.
No, everyone's lying about that. I have Batman Returns at like 20 or like 21 or something, or 20.
So what was the other Batman movie you had in your top 10?
Batman Begins.
Oh, Batman Begins.
And The Dark Knight. So I have Batman Begins, Dark Knight.
Yeah,
in my top 10.
Yeah.
So I don't know, whatever. Batman Returns is literally that's 21 or like 21, I think. So, anyways, I love these movies because when I was a kid, I watched these movies all the freaking time. These movies were kick asses to me. But Batman was a huge pivot point, I think, in the movie industry for superheroes.
Yeah, I think I had it maybe 17. I had it pretty.
I could see people, if they wanted to, a little bit older than us, put like Superman high, because that was there for like 10 years earlier in the late 70s. Then I had Spider-Man from 2002. Spider-Man 2002 doesn't happen. We don't get an MCU. That movie came off of the heels of like those crappy like Batman and Robins, and we went, the late 90s are full of like slapstick, goofy comic book movies. This was the first one to take it, I think, to that next level. So that's why that's there. Then I went Dark Knight, Deadpool, Guardians of the Galaxy, Infinity War. And I think Infinity War is one of the best movies of all time.
Yeah, no, there's no problem with that.
So there it is. That was my top 11. So this is my final transparency. So yeah, Batman Returns. I kept seeing Goo like he would like tweet at me about Batman Returns. I'm like, did I rank it that high? I guess maybe that's high for others.
Kind of high, yeah. Especially with Logan and them not knowing you really hadn't seen the film.
I hadn't seen Logan. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I pretty much I forgot X2, I forgot Batman Begins, and I didn't know Scott Pilgrim versus the World was.
That's comic book movie?
It is. And then I did know that, but I forgot. And then the list that I looked at didn't have it on there, so it didn't like jog my memory. And then I think that was it. And I probably would have ranked The Batman 16 instead of 11. I can't find my actual list right now, but yeah, not totally from me. To me, it wasn't.
I'll check it out. I still want to see it. I'll let you know once I see it.
It's a great movie, but it's not. Actually, I'd say it's under a great movie. It's a very good movie.
Okay, so Bill, here's my 50 to 40. If you Howard the Duck was my 50.
I think I had him in my 52.
Batman Forever, the Rocketeer, which when I was a kid I thought was like the coolest. Love that movie. You ever see that movie?
No.
Oh my god, I used to have the toys, big toy guy.
I remember the toys.
Blank Man.
I don't even think that's a comic book.
Oh, is it not? I thought it was. Well, he was a superhero. Avengers Age of Ultron.
Oh, yeah.
It's a tough watch. I've watched it again. That's a hard one.
One good scene.
So different. Thor: The Dark World.
Oh.
Another one, not as bad as people. Like when I redid it with seeing Change My Mind like a year ago, we both all said it's not as bad as people remember, but it's just still not as good because movies become so much better. Dark Knight Rises. I just can't get that. That movie's a tough one. Superman, 1978. Man of Steel, and then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I should have had Turtles higher, actually.
I probably should have too, because then I went like the original X-Men, Thor, and like into some of the Iron Men. I also, you know what's funny? And I think Wes, I think the two Wes's were chatting about Iron Man 3 and Iron Man and stuff. Like I have Iron Man 3 higher than Iron Man 2. I thought Iron Man 3 was a good standalone. Like I love that, but love strong. I really like that movie.
I got into the MCU late and watched them all in a row. And I was like, whoa, can't wait to watch the next two. And I was like,
no. Iron Man 3, I think
I've only seen both of them once, so I don't know.
Iron Man 3 is one of my it's like everything I loved about. See, there was another gripe I had with Endgame. Thor's depressed, he becomes fat, it's like a goofy. Haha, look at the fat guy. Iron Man 3 is all about like depression from the fallout of like everything that's gone on and like what's going on with Tony, and it's told in such a wonderful way, and it is a Christmas movie. But I just that was another one of my gripes about Endgame. Like literally Thor's just fat now and everyone just laughs at him. It's not really. No, I did.
You don't want comedy in these Marvel movies?
There's plenty of comedy in the movie, but that part always just like it wasn't like made. I just think they've done depression
because he killed Thanos and it did nothing, and he killed him in the wrong spot the first time. So
yeah, he should have went for the head. Infinity War is the best movie ever, dude. That's literally one of the best movies ever.
So in my thing, I would always be like, why not just go back to the moment Thor killed him and kill him then?
It's a great point. Well, yeah, just time stone it, let him smash him right in the face. You know what, Bill? See, this is why Endgame's not that good. And then they did the toy dump at the end. The last thing I'll just say is, again, this is all fun. This is great stuff. We can continue these. Like, this is another reason, like, and then Fryer had some nonsense today about like, oh, Ross, you had 17 movies. The list was created by us. Of course, like he's like, I got all the stats. Davey had 13 not on there. Rossi had 17. Like, nobody else had 6. No crap, Sherlock. It's a list made of the 8-10 people. Of course, like most people's movies are going to be on there. Mine are going to be outliers.
I actually really like that you and Davey had very different like lists than everybody because Davey forgot 14 movies. And you just ranked whatever you actually saw.
That's it. And like I didn't look at anybody's. Mine was sent on April 11th. I sent that crap over, and I didn't overthink. I didn't stress it. I'm just like, this is what I got. I thought about.
I will honestly tell you. the fact that we have Infinity War first, I think a few people probably did, but for it not to be the conclusion, like
It's much better, Bill. It's better than
it's a better movie, but I think the solo movies are better than Infinity War, like the 3 or 4 that I have. Like I'd rather watch Logan, Spider-Verse.
I think you're lying.
Why?
I just feel if Infinity War is on, you're gonna watch. I'm not saying you're not watching those movies.
I
Infinity War is incredible. There's so much to it.
I'd prefer to watch Spider-Verse. I'd prefer to watch Guardians, and I wouldn't prefer to watch Logan. I think it's just a better movie.
Ah, man. No, hey, listen, that's why it's your list, right? That's why we all that's the other thing about this that's fun. Listen, I'm happy to be whatever, like make fun of me, make whatever, it's cool. But like I'd rather be in this position knowing I put a list together that's like all mine. Even like Fry, didn't he have like a bunch of like animated like movies? And then I think
that's
saw
who he is though.
But didn't Davey watch a movie that Fryer had in his list and it wasn't the right one, or was it Mac, or it was Mac? Mac watched a movie. I saw it on Twitter and I laughed. He's like, I just watched this movie, and he's like, oh, not that one, the other one. And Mac's like, I literally just watched this pile of crap.
You know what Mac did? He watched the other one.
Oh, listen. Good for Mac, man. Hey, that man saves lives. He ain't no complaints there, but like he watches a lot of movies. That's the other thing I realized. Everybody
what his podcast is.
I know, but that's a lot of like just to be like, I'm gonna watch these 2 animated movies for literally no reason, just because Fryer ranked them.
I mean, I could watch 2 movies a day if I wasn't on my phone and playing Madden.
Yeah, but you're working.
No, but like I watch a lot of my phone, Instagram, and
I see. Yeah. I guess. Well, like, listen, that's why I'm never really like I'm never like sitting here thinking high and mighty compared, because I've watched literally 13 plus hours of wrestling a week. So I'm never. That's my point. Like that's why like a 3-hour movie to me, I'm like I'm probably gonna watch NXT 2.0. Like that's my thing. You know what I mean? Like tonight, I'm watching the Celtics game, and then I'm gonna watch AEW. Well, probably tomorrow I'll watch AEW because there's a pay-per-view this weekend.
Yeah, I had a discussion with somebody who's about to start a wrestling podcast, and they were like, "I couldn't do it on the current wrestling." I was like, "Yeah, because it's like 13 hours."
It's literally the greatest thing you can do is to do like some form of retro wrestling stuff.
Yeah, it's evergreen.
It's evergreen, and most audience are going to know it. The wrestling audience today is more just like a bunch of critical pieces of crap on Twitter. That's literally it. Like the product is so good, there's so much good, but we're all so bitter and jaded. And that's how it used to be. You're like, this thing sucks or that thing. It's just like, dude,
same with everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's true. It's a good way to watch. I just have so much more wrestling in my thing. But again, go check out the Dork Podcast. Go check out that top 50. Go check out the top 50 ranked Rossi mentions.
One real quick thing before we get out of here. I saw Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
I still have yet to see it.
No spoilers here. Yeah. I will just say I loved it. And I walked because I think my expectations were so tempered because everybody in the DSG kind of toured a new one. I think CMC might have liked it, but it had super hokey stuff, and like everybody told me about like certain lines were delivered, and one of the lines is a terrible line, super goofy, but they cut to another character who also turned their head at it, and you're just like, well, they know it's goofy, and they played it off. Even if it wasn't a good line, they at least know it's not a good line. So I'm fine with that. Like he wasn't trying to play it for a real joke. Like it was purposefully that. Yeah. Okay.
So here's what I'll say. I haven't seen. I was actually talking to friend of the pod, buddy Kevin. Maybe going to see it over this long weekend. Now that I'll be free after, because when a child gets COVID, we're doing the whole 10-day funness. Just horrible. That COVID thing. That Uncle COVID's a bitch. But I have not heard. See, the thing that I think like the worry part of this film for me is like No Way Home. Like it started to leak out that all the Spider-Man were in it, right? Like there was some sort of buzz, probably purpose leak. And I was like, okay, like I kind of knew it seemed like that was going to happen leading in.
You knew once they called it that.
Yeah.
They had the Spider-Verse kind of storyline that they were all coming back.
Yeah, like you heard enough, and like, but they never like fully confirmed it till like 3 weeks later when they started. Like it was all the innuendos on the internet. So I'm like, this is like a lot of hype. When Multiverse of Madness was like basically the trailer was like the scene at the end of this, I kind of felt like, is that movie going to be super important? Because the whole thing is like, it's kind of a horror movie. It's kind of rated R. But neither one of those.
Everybody's gripes are legitimate that they have in the DSG, but
I haven't heard anybody yet.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Their gripes are always about, well, it didn't necessarily move the Marvel arc along far enough. I'm like, I walked out of that movie having a pretty good time. 2 or 3 lame moments. Other than that, I thought it was fun.
So this is what here's a couple of things. So have you seen Morbius?
No.
Okay, so I've heard there's no real reason to see it. Now on the internet, there's like, have you seen like those deleted scenes, or like, I don't know if it was actually in the movie. Have you seen the scene with Michael Keaton?
No.
It's made its rounds on Twitter, and it's like horribly done. Like right after this, like literally right before you watch Celtics, like just watch the Morbius. Am I saying that, or Morbius? And you got to watch a scene with him because I can't remember was he the Falcon? What was the bad guy? What was Michael Keaton's character in Homecoming?
I forget.
Vulture. So he's in this movie allegedly, but like Bill, the scene looks so goddamn bad. So I never saw the movie, and people like ripping that. But like how I'm tying this in is like I feel like Multiverse of Madness is gonna like something like that's gonna hit the internet soon. Like people are gonna be like, "Can you believe this?" Like maybe that scene you're talking about, and people will just like pick on it.
I think you're fine. I don't think that'll happen yet.
Well, I'm just saying, it's going to happen, I feel. But the thing is, like, that movie, I feel like had no stakes because that's still a Sony project. And I know Multiverse of Madness, they're saying that there's a little, again, I'll see it. Well, we'll have fun with it. But here's my question for MCU purposes. Like, what's next?
I don't know. I think that's the whole thing why people didn't enjoy the movie because they don't really set up kind of what's next.
Because I thought this would be that movie. It felt like it was going to be that movie. Maybe, again, this is why. Because multiverse, okay, so you're going to go into, like, multi-dimensional stuff. People in and out. Okay, cool. We saw a little bit of that in Spider-Man. Is that where we're going? Because, like,
there's, like, an end scene, like a mid-credit scene that sets something up, but you don't know what the fuck it is. It's not like the other movies where, like, Spider-Man kind of, in Spider-Man 2, like, left it open a little bit. And the last Spider-Man left it open a little bit. This pretty much closes the loop on that story. I'm like, I don't know what's next.
I'm just excited.
That's where the gripes that they have are fair.
All right, I'm going to ask one question. One spoiler I want. Is Vision in this movie?
No.
Damn it. We ever get this guy back in a film?
That's a legit gripe. That is a 100%.
Are we getting this man back in a film?
I don't know. But that's like one of the gripes that I would have if I thought of it. But like, I don't go into these movies hoping to get a lot of questions answered if they're not pressing. So True. I forgot about Vision. It would have made a little more sense.
I never forget.
But she doesn't concern herself really with him in this movie. It's all about her kids.
The kid. Okay, that's what I assumed. There's one last thing. Speaking of things, gripes and issues with questions. Bill, just a few days ago was the anniversary of the finale of Lost.
Was indeed.
In one of our most popular YouTube videos, I don't think we ever released it on podcast form, was our finale.
Lost review?
Yeah, we called it something like retrospective of the finale.
Yeah,
I think it was a YouTube only because there were some decent hits on that because that was one I put all over Reddit. And there was a guy who was like working on like a project who hated what we said about this, absolutely destroyed me. And I think I shared it with you a while ago on Twitter. He was like, you completely missed the boat with that. I'm like, no, I didn't.
Nope.
We weren't bad because we were just a little critical. There was just so much more left to a show like that. Like, have you watched the end of Ozark? Oh, you didn't see Ozark. It doesn't matter. I will just tell you this. Like, Ozark, it doesn't feel like an end. Like, it feels like, okay, there could be more. That's just how I felt. I think even looking back at Lost, like I was watching it again, like you're like, I know it has a grand finale feel to it, but the whole last season feels like there should be a little bit more here. But again, Lost is one of the most... I just don't think it's the show that changed so much and incredible. And today, actually, I think is this is wild. I think it's 17 years since the season 1 finale.
Oh, wow.
The View from the Hatch,
crazy.
Which
2003.
is one of
3.
Yeah, that would be 2005. I think it's one of the, if not maybe the greatest cliffhanger of all time. No, second. The number 1 is Who Shot Mr. Burns.
That's pretty good.
It literally is. That's a show that never did that. Like, I remember that whole summer. If you remember that, the Who Shot Mr. Burns, the whole summer, Fox ran specials.
Yeah, it was the ending of a Dallas episode. It was like the exact same.
The Who Shot JR. But like, literally, that is like back then, like TV was so different then. Like now we have YouTube and stuff, but like I remember even like the OC. Before they came back, it was like 2 weeks before the season 2 premiere. There was like shows recap like on Fox television in the middle of August, being like recapping the first season and the actors talking. It was like just so different now. And Lost had a ton of that. I remember Lost used to have the 8 o'clock hour was an hour of like the week before with like pop-up video, or they did retrospectives. It was wild, man.
Yeah, like the Talking Dead.
Oh yeah, though that was another game changer. But yeah, the Lost. Just every time like I think about it, I'm just like, Best show I've ever watched, but still completely frustrating in moments.
They stumbled to the finish, but they still finished first, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah,
it was kind of funky, but I think they kind of nailed the landing.
the first 3 seasons are legit elite. Like if I were to tell somebody, like Keith, me and him used to talk about a lot, I used to be like, just literally bang through. Well, don't bang, take your time. But like the first 3 seasons, I think are arguably like the greatest run of like that serial, everything's connected type of show, which there wasn't.
100%. Yeah.
Like if Twin Peaks didn't try to answer who killed Laura Palmer, they could have been on that same type of run. They'd only got like a season.
Or didn't go completely like left field. They went out of their mind in the bucket.
Go all David Lynch just being like, well, I didn't want to answer. He literally talked about, I think it's one of the greatest things, when he talks about why the show went bonkers. He was like, well, they made me answer this, so I just went this way. Man's insane. And then they made a whole movie that you watch Fire Walk with Me.
Not good.
We're going all over the place now, but it's just like literally like it's like all of season 2, a little bit of season 1, and then like 2 extra scenes because Coop wasn't in it. It's so weird. Anywho, Bill, why don't we just quickly give the folks what's going on in the dork this week?
This week in Dork Shared Universe.
This week in the Dork Shared Universe, Mac and Goods, the 1989 classic Aliens. CMC, I caught the end of it, did most satisfying MCU moments, and they didn't have the one from Strange, which it will be one of your top 5 easily. I've heard it both ways, is doing a psych podcast, and TLDR reads books. Then the streamers are Shine Time, R. Von D, and Dr. Joe.
We appreciate you guys so much for listening. Again, hold those loved ones even closer. Hopefully you got some of the, unlike Lost at times, hopefully you got some of the answers to your questions, or you could just be hell of a much more frustrated with me. Either way, that's cool, man. You can always tweet at us at Pop Culture PD. Make sure you give Billy a follow at Billy Yee2411. I am at Jason D Rossi over on the Twitter. We will be back next week with some more fun action for you on the podcast to entertain your ears. Be a friend, tell a friend, spread the word, leave a 5-star review. That's literally it. Free, and you will be doing good for the kids with cancer, as I'll be shaving this mop top literally not next week. Next episode, if you watch, you'll see full hair. Episode after that, no hair. I'm gonna look very strange, Doctor Strange. Bill, any final words for our fine folks?
Slap it on the biscuit.
Frank says hi.